taking advice from one of the members of the Rothschild family, and some of the key topics that he, was describing on some of his journey on this planet is that, you know, you're basically from, collecting lots and lots of data. Like they spend nearly a whole day answering questions from, anonymous users, a couple years back. And, I found some of the stuff that he said extremely knowledgeable and interesting, especially for, the slaves down here. And it's extremely interesting information regarding the current financial situation that is happening inside the US. The crippling destruction of the middle class, while, the sheep just keeps getting poor and poor and poor and poor. And he described a fairly interesting information regarding immigration that, kind of really sparked those, the big brain sparks. uh, there was one topic where he was describing that, back in the day you had like huge houses with, that typical nuclear family type of environment, where, you had like a mom and a dad and, maybe two kids, two American kids. And now, there's like four or five Mexicans families living in one house. And it's extremely interesting because um, it's extremely equal to what is happening in Europe as well as here in the West, well, here in the U.S. And how they're creating a surplus of workers to cripple down wages so that the rich can maintain their status, while, the poor sheep working class is basically maintaining their workflow for these guys to maintain their lifestyles. And another thing that was mentioning was that, if you look at Google Maps and you zoom out, you're gonna look at it like a bunch of little ants, a bunch of worker bees, expanding and creating that sort of environment for the population to be in. And and in a couple of years, in 5 to 10 years from now, that's going to be, expanded in the way where it's going to be much much bigger as the population grow, or there's a population displacements from different parts of the world into the US. And and then there's one thing that kind of really clicked on my mind, is that, and it really got to me, is that he was saying that, look, sheeps don't rise up. And it's true. Like, since when, you know we had a group of sheeps, rising up against the farmers, saying, "No, you're not gonna get us." Usually the sheep walk, every single sheep walk right to their slaughterhouse, thinking that there's candy at the end of the day. So same thing with the population. We're maintaining the status quo for, people we don't even know. And and yes, we are a bunch of little worker bees and stuff like that. And there's another really interesting topic that I want to get into, is that like he was talking about the third eye, right? Your third eye, and how it's like an alien subconsciousness. It's almost like a parasite inside your host, the body, that have like a self-destructing trigger to maintain its environment, or some sort of like that. And that how you have to have like a green diet instead of a meat diet, like a sacrificial diet, where you're always, eating meat and having lots of, you know bad energy, I would say. And I have to say it's true, okay? Because I try going. I know I used to eat lots of meat and lots of diet and stuff like that, and I used to eat a lot of meats in doing my diets and my daily food, and I was always tired, always feeling like something was like sucking the energy out of me. And then for the past like ever since I got on Weight Watchers, I got the 8 Weight Watchers on my app here, and then everywhere I go, I scan the back of the each of little things on Walmart to figure out what my points are. And I figured out that my energy level now is way better. Like I'm eating a lot healthier now. I'm eating lots of greens. I feel a lot of energy. Like I go for walks every now and then. I bought those jumping ropes. I can do it 250 jumps. I started with 20 jumps a day, and I was like feeling tired and all that. And now I'm doing 250 jumps in one day. Uh, that's pretty interesting because ever since I changed to like a more vegan diet, more green, more like cut down the cheese, cut down everything, and just go for the healthy stuff. And there's a lot of books that they you know gave gave us to read, was basically in terms of fatty acids, healthy things to eat, and things that really burn the calorie and deadly type of dietary and things like that. And I have to say the philosophy of the Rothschilds extremely uh, evolve, but they have to understand that they're still human. They are human. You're stuck. You're a parasite just like the rest of us, and there's no escape. Even if you have a status quo that put you, in a higher level of like financially and power, because it's all about power. It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with power and influence on others. So you have to understand that you're still human. You still have a lot of flaws, and nobody's perfect. And even though you can literally maintain your bloodline, and it's still going to be flawed. There's going to be a lot of flaw, a lot of noise. The DNA is not perfect. There's a lot of missing, links there. And even if you create an AI, a philosophical AI, like an extremely intelligent AI, it's still going to have a lot of issues because it's made by humans. And an AI cannot, make itself perfect because it doesn't know what perfection is. So, and it's extremely interesting how the Rothschild operate throughout the world. I mean, I have to say, man, these people, are extremely knowledgeable. Like I feel like low right now, like in a way where it's just like, damn, like my thought pattern, my ways of thinking was just like was not heading taking me anywhere. And I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, it's you know after learning how Epstein operates, how majority of all those people, like all their documents that I review, like a lot of other people review, how there's a lot of blackmailing with grooming of and all sorts of shit with underage little kids. There's a lot of weird ways of how these people operate. So I have to say, man, I just want to say thank you to the Rothschild family for giving me great dietary advices and financial advice. And I don't think leaving, having a place in Haiti would be ideal for me unless I had a position in Haiti or some sort of political connection there. But I have no friends, I have no family, I have nothing. Like when it comes to friendship, financially, I'm satisfied with my well-being, but socially, not so much. Especially, in this coronavirus situation that we're in right now, where all the sheeps are scared of their own shadows, basically. So, it's extremely interesting because fear is, it's extremely helpful too, because one of the advice that we're giving was that when you have a fearful society, you have plenty more options to be to have more, you know, power over population and things like that. And because fear keeps you in one place, while others who are, not so fearful can benefit from not having those sort of people around. And like I say, like I'm a traveler. I do truck driving, but in this corona situation that we're in right now, the best thing to do right now would be delivering goods internationally. I'm a traveler. I pick up stuff across the border and I bring it inside the US. Like, I wish I had a connection. There we go. Like exactly what they were saying. I wish I had a connection with a mega international import and export corporation or shipyards that has international relations with different countries to import and export goods, so that way I can pick up stuff at the port and deliver it to a logistics that really wants it. So, I wish I had the connection of logistics and ships and stuff like that, in order to, have some crayons to play with. Crayons. I came up with that, by the way. Because I'm still a child in the financial sector, and it has everything to do with connection. And the Rothschild was 100%, right about that. And but anyway, the dietary thing was awesome. The third eye thing with the aliens, I would say that was a good advice, because, ever since I started a vegan diet, I feel a lot more energy. Like, I don't feel like something's sucking, you know, energy out of me. I just feel like, wow, man, I can really go for a run. Like, I can just run. I can have a great time. I can jump around, hoop around on a little rope. I went to a vacation to Miami. It was like I had the best time of my life in Miami. And hopefully, if everything works out, I'll go to Cancun, Mexico. And hopefully I don't get stuck at the quarantine entry inside the US. Pretty sure that's not going to happen. If things, things might get better. But hopefully I don't get inoculated, by this mRNA vaccine, because there's a lot of leaks coming out. And a lot of side effects for people, allergy reactions. And I'm not very happy about the stuff that I've been reading here on my end. But hopefully I don't have to be forcibly inoculated, so that I can turn into a robot that just receives input and output through radio towers, because mRNA is literally a nanobot or whatever. So, anyway, extremely interesting advice. I haven't even started to explain what the advice was, because they literally took a whole day to take questions from a bunch of anonymous users. And I just figured that I spent hours and hours reading, because you have to learn something from the people that knows what they're doing. It's like wishing you had a parent that thought the whole world when they didn't. Damn, I wish I knew that sort of information when I was younger, so that way I would have made brighter decisions in my life. But then again, you have to think about things like, well, if I made brighter decision in my life and the COVID-19 hit, I wouldn't be doing import and export while everybody's jobless. 16% of Americans are unemployed, and I have some sort of job security. So, and I'm still, halfway there because I own my own truck, I own my own business, I'm a CEO, entrepreneur, but it has nothing to do with what I own. The tools necessary to really achieve success in life is the connection you have. But how do you have connection with somebody who has foreign relations with other nations to do import and export business when like literally they own the supply and demand of the entire market by keeping the supply and demand offshores so that they can just slowly supply the stuff inside the US to keep the prices either low or high. That way they have total control over the supply and demand of the entire market. That means there's some sort of classified details when it comes to people that work on logistics area like me. So it's very touchy, very sensitive, things that I know of in my environment here that I've been talking to a lot of people, every now and then throughout my career in this place here. And there's a lot of bribing, legislators and political, you know, blowjob puppet, you know, con artists of political leaders that we have inside the U.S. And the Rothschild was extremely accurate on this information as well, because political figures are just there to receive the highest bit from the biggest, guy with the money that needs, the lobby to maintain his financial apparatus on whatever he's trying to achieve inside the nation. But not having that connection really hurt me, really hurt me, because I don't even know where to start, man. And it's just like, what do I do? It's like one of those dirty little things that you think in your mind, like, oh, I can go in a good way and send letters here and there, or I can go in a bad way, which is like, oh, let's just blackmail those guys and have, upper hand in the game. So, it's one of those wolf type of tactics where you have to eat somehow when you're surrounded by sheeps, And it's just like, man. And the things that, I'm not very social. I would say like I'm pretty psychopathic in a way, where it's just like when I look at people, like I don't really see them as what I see, because I'm like, the way that I see the world is very different from how other people perceive their realities. So like, I've been trying to alert people like, hey, there's a wave coming, and people just, turn their blind eye on and just get slammed by the wave. And it's just like, whoa, like, dude, you just got hit by the wave. And they just keep digging themselves inside the sand to get away from me. It's just like, dude, all I was trying to tell you was like the truth. And people were just, they don't want to listen. They have like this, somebody program every single person in the world to have a specific, set of scripts on their lives. So it's like when you have somebody like me or many other people who are like a little bit wise travelers who have been all around the world, because I have been all around the world, and we perceive reality in a different way. Like well, from my perspective, when it comes to economy, it's just like, dude, I don't have an upper hand anywhere, because just just to move a ship from the US, from California to China, it costs literally $2 million on fuel, let alone all the bribing and the paperwork and the connection that goes, in between the trades. So whoever has the upper hands, like Warren Buffett, who has like, all the discounts on railways and logistical, provisional type of work with cans and drive vans for trucks, they have the upper hand in the game. But guys that's over here grinding the wheel, not so much so. So I'm pretty, I would say I'm a pretty young guy. Trying to get my hand in the game with nobody to really talk to, nobody to have I don't have any connections with anybody. And it's just like, I don't feel like a victimized, but it's just like it's one of those poker cards game where you don't really have the cards in a table. You know, you're just there like staring, like you're just watching the game being played. So it's one of those type of casino games where you don't really get to play. You just get to watch, and it's pretty frustrating, you know. But then again, you have to look at, you know, the U.S. has almost 333 million people trying to achieve the same thing, and 99% of all those people are a bunch of retards, indebted morons that is going to spend the rest of their lives trying to pay $150,000 at, you know, 20% APR with a really shitty credit score. So, and I have the upper hand because I don't have any debt. So that gives me a little bit of alleviation because I can wake up every day and be like, hey, I don't have any debt. You know, I can just save money doing what I'm doing and kind of trying to plan my ways through, you know, the cracks of the system. Because I didn't talk to a couple people that had knowledge but on the railways, knew everything about the railways, and he was just saying the same thing that I'm saying right now, is that Warren Buffett has the upper hand on all the railways, so you can't really get your hands on there. So there goes. Like, imagine you're, you know, a little tuna surrounded by sharks, and you're just like, hey, I have a gun, you know, like, can I play too? And they're just like laughing and searching for their food, and it's just like, it's frustrating because you don't have the jaws to really chew on the system. So, and I have to say that one thing that kind of hurt me about the Rothschild was that what they were saying about Lincoln. And Lincoln was basically helped the banking system, because when he freed the slaves and we made everybody a slave, he didn't free anybody because the Rothschild had the total issuance of money over the population and even the government. So there's players in the game right now, in the system, that has more money than the government itself. Like the SWIFT accounts in New Zealand that has over $500 trillion from all the mega players in Europe and some in the US. And, you know, $500 trillion is a lot of money to have on a SWIFT account, plus, you know, $150 million in gold reserves. That's like, it's actually 150 metric tons of gold in different vaults. And I was like, who the heck has 150 mega tons of gold? Like, there's no way to win. It's just frustrating, man. It's really, really frustrating having the connection. And first of all, like, a lot of people say, oh, you gotta become a Mason, like a Freemason. I'm just like, dude, like, Freemasons are just pawns. They're just pawns in the game. They don't get to play. So another thing is that I'm not really part of any organizations, especially with, you know, old boomers on their last, you know, Social Security, you know, funds from the state. So there's another saying that I used to work with detailing private jets, like $30 million jets in South, you know, Miami and South Florida. There's a saying that my boss always told me, that he was a millionaire, and he told me that in order for you to shoot, you know, in the barrel, you have to have the bullets. So you can have the gun, but if you don't have the bullets, you're not gonna go anywhere. So, you know, you can have the guns, I would say, like, you can have the will to do, but if you don't have the bullet, then you're not going anywhere. And it's just like, it's exactly what the Rothschild was saying, like, you need connection. So that's gonna be a bitch, but it could be possible. It's possible. It's possible to maybe close a contract, but everything is a monopoly. Just look at what Facebook and everybody else did with Parler, like with the monopolies. They completely, you know, literally vampire bit them like there was no tomorrow. Like, literally kill Parler overnight. And the industry that I work in trucking here in the U.S. is a mafia. Like, I've been mafia bosses and different monopolies all throughout 50 states in America, through all the monopoly franchise throughout all 50 states. All the franchises, all the distributions are all the same. They're all owned by one entity that owns it all the distribution of everything. And it's the same people that controls the import and export for the merchant ships that come in and out, that, requires at least $2 million to $3 million to, just for fuel and taxes and everything else, and in cans, and it's just a lot of money. Like, we're talking about a transaction of $10 million just to bring a ship in, plus the logistics, plus the lease building, plus everything else. And it's just like, it's an operation that requires at least $100 million to operate with. And here I am with the little truck, and I was just like, holy shit, dude, I have the tools, but I don't have the connections, because those people, they own money to the banks that's owned by the Rothschild, meaning that they're on the same situation that I'm in right now. They have all the tools, but they don't have the necessary marketing schemes to sell people stuff without the monopolized franchise that's Walmart and all the mega distribution centers throughout the country. So if you're a Rothschild listening to this, if you're Jeff Bezos, if you're Bill Gates, if you're part of the Bilderberg Group, if you're part of the Committee of 300, if you're part of the Trilateral Commission by the Rockefeller Foundation, hit me up, or at least give me a stray lane somewhere where I can make a living, distributing all your products, because I'm nothing but a working bee, and I don't want to really work for the the control wages that you guys have for the rest of the slaves and the worker bees inside the U.S. I require at least, $10,000 to $20,000 a week in order to sustain my desires for living my lonely life a little bit more pleasant, So yeah, that's one of the advice the Rothschild gave it to me. And some of the stuff, we've been reading online about all the books and all the interesting dietary and stuff. Thank you, Rothschild, for the advice. I'm out. And damn, bro, I feel really ashamed of myself for, oh man, I got a lot to learn, man.